All right, finally got the ABS rings on the axles. So here's the load of parts and pieces I've already taken off the Bullitt. And here's all the new stuff that's going in, drive shaft and springs and low control arms. Here's the axle, about ready to get put back together. I wanted to show you guys this though. So if you guys have this Celine LS limited slip true track thingy, whatever the hell it is I have. This is your centerpiece that goes between the two axles once they slip in. So you push the two axles in all the way and you can put your C-clips in. C-clips right here. And they just go in on the axle. Pops in right there, one there and one there. And then you pull the axles back out until they can't go any further because obviously the C-clips are on there now. And you drop this spacer piece in the middle so that they don't go in. The axles can't come in together. So, and once you get that on there, you slip this in, pop that into place, and then you have your snap ring that goes in there to keep that retention piece in right there. So, this is what it looks like. I'm excited to get this in. As you can see, there are 373 gears, and excited to get this thing in the back of the car and get it rolling. So I've got all new AMSOIL that's gonna go in. Whenever I get all this done, I got subframe connectors I gotta weld on still. As you can see, the rear axle is not attached to anything. It's just sitting there on a jack, and I have to remove the drive shaft. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pull the whole entire axle back with the drive shaft connected and everything, since the whole thing's coming out anyway. But I gotta disconnect the mid pipe that's under there first. So that's what I'm going to do next. As you can see, I did get the lower control arms removed from the chassis, and it's obviously removed from the axle. Everything's removed from the axle. But there's a look underneath of what we're looking at. So I got to take that mid pipe out because I'm replacing the mid pipe, and I got to get the drive shaft out, and I don't want it to drop on the stock H pipe piece. So I'm going to remove that mid pipe, and then we're going to remove the axle with the drive shaft. So this ought to be quite interesting. Here we go. All right, so the rear axle is out. The drive shaft is out. I have not been able to get to putting this in yet because I got to get some RTV to seal that lid for the differential. But you can see I got the axles in, got all the bolts transferred over. So one of the things I did was whenever I took the lower control arms, upper control arms, shocks out, all that on the other axle, I put the bolts back into the holes that they came out of, and that allowed me to transfer them over to the new axle and know exactly where they go, so I can have them all where they're supposed to be instead of everywhere in the garage when you're trying to work on these things. So, but I'll give you a shot of underneath what it looks like now. A whole lot of nothing under there. So went ahead and took out the drive shaft and rear axle together, and we used the heat to loosen the drive shaft bolts, the 4 Torx bolts, to get the drive shaft off the rear end. Worked out pretty well, but I got to take that H pipe off still and replace that. So I guess that'll be the next thing. All right, so we have the rear out. I got the upper control arms in, the BMR upper control arms in, and the lowers are in as well. They're just hanging here to attach to the axle. We did put the drive shaft, the Ford Racing aluminum drive shaft, up in place in the slip yoke. One thing I would suggest doing if you're going to do this is change the fuel filter. This has 24,000 miles on it. I probably could change it, but I didn't pick one up yet, so I'm going to have to change it with the axle in here. But now would be definitely be the time to change it if you were going to change it. So recommendation there. But we're going to get this in and see if we can't at least get the lower control arms and the drive shaft attached. That'll allow me to put the springs on and lift it up into place. So let's see where we can go. All right, so skip ahead a little bit. As you can see, the new axle is somewhat in. The control arms are connected. This is the BMR Control Arms. I don't have the sway bar in yet. I don't have the brakes back on or the brake dust shields or anything. The springs are in there. The lower control arms, upper and lower, are on. They're not tightened all the way. I got to tighten those. The other side, I'm working on getting I got the shock put in. On the other side, so you can see there, in, and I just got to do the driver's side shock and tighten all the control arms down. And then I'm going to go ahead and order some cross-drilled and slotted rotors to put on here, some new brake pads, because I don't want to get down here and do it. I'm already here. Might as well just do it all right the first time. So, but here's what it looks like. I'll show you guys underneath. So there's the axle in. It doesn't have fluid in it yet. I got to do that still and do all the fluids at the same time, the oil and the diff fluid and everything. But the axles are in. The axle in. So springs. There's the upper control arms. You can kind of barely see there. I don't have the light on in this right now, but yeah. So thanks to Dad for helping out. It's not a one-person job, trust me, guys. So Dad came over, helped me put the axle in, and I appreciate that a lot. So there we go. All right, guys. So I did get all the lower control arms, upper control arms tightened, everything. The shocks are in. The springs are on. The sway bar is actually on now. Got that sway bar put on. It's pretty substantial sway bar, but you can see the lower control arms there. The upper control arms there. They're gonna need to be adjusted for pinion angle and whatnot, but right now they're on. Again, we don't have any fluid in there. We're gonna put fluid in that before we get it going. And you can see the struts, shocks, whatever, they're in there with the lowering springs on. So I did not use upper isolators. I did use some lower isolators, you can see on the lower control arm, but I didn't use any upper isolators for the springs. So the drive shaft is in and stuff. Again, I keep talking about that H pipe and that mid pipe and putting the other one on. I haven't done it yet. I kind of hesitating to do it. But anyway, so there it is. That's the end of this video for this vlog. Stay tuned for the front end. We're gonna do the fronts next. So there we go. Thanks, guys. We'll see you. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that like button. As always, talk to you later. Bye.